Alright, hello. I am less well than I'd like to be, but I still feel like doing this. There's a little attached video mixed in. I don't know how I mixed it because it hasn't happened yet. It's going over a new version of this symbols and how symbols are born. Like in 2010, I found this treatise online. It's like a Freemason book on how everything comes from a dot to a line and the symbolic nature of all of these things. I haven't been able to find it since, but I've been just making my own story scribbles through. The Bach saga, of course, is intertwined in this, and the I Ching. The theory is this: that if we learn the lawfulness of how symbol rises out of these ontological consensus decisions based upon observation of the meaning of the symbol on the paper, just by there's a very simple way of seeing this point by point as each symbol changes. And what the Bach saga states is very true, is that the language system died the moment black ink touched white paper. There is an entire dynamic in black ink on white paper that is a universal, alchemical. It's all you. It's this is what we use for creating, and this is the matrix that our minds has been somewhat reduced to, rather than just a tool. And that in actuality, within natural law and within understanding instantaneously our environment, is through the senses. That our ability to understand the language of our senses and emotions is the language we used to know. That not only can plasmas communicate, which we are, but that water itself is a medium of communication and storage. That we are in a water medium dispersed through the air, and that we are mainly water. And that this is also true of the animals. And so once you get over the fact that you are now just human, when you are in fact more than, then it's easy to see that water can communicate with water. And you can read the emotions of people walking by, and certain words pop into your head from nowhere that are those words getting through because the content finds a way into your field, and it's all being read. Our brains truly translate into English within such a quick amount of time. We don't know the other language still exists, still operates. Our brain has been hijacked to the left so quickly to control the right, as in there is a circuit that we have just been inclined to follow for so long since they taught us language those first few days in school, that the other world shuts off and shuts down, which is another way of understanding innately our environment, and therefore we end up with different interpreted material as our reality and a different perspective overall. So maybe if we fully all collectively understand how symbols are born and how concepts are born from symbols, and that this essentially is what the spirit world is, and that the accumulation of all our imaginative, linguistic aspects create a world that we not only interact with but has impetus and consequence. And maybe we can eventually find a way back to not speaking nonsense. Um, but I think there's many roads and many modes that we will utilize in order to loosen up the mind, in order to reach that full embodiment consciousness or cognizance, where our senses let us know exactly what's happening in the universe, and there's no delay, there's nothing, right? And it's all part of a judgment syndrome that's been building up for so long. Since Zarathustra was instructed to drop off the new good and evil program for our world that is now being removed. And why we only have this headache over Atlantis is that when the program within reality was changed to a new paradigm and a new method for seeing, as a new testing of our existence, a new game, just new protocols, that the memory wipe happened. Psychic EMP, and so all of it's hazy, and the world that we create collectively in relationship to that which we are seated within, and we are thankful and lovingly granted to be here, not a simulationist. It's a very useful mode of thinking, and it there's lost my train of thought, but this video is also, it's a mixture of that being born and expressing some of this system of how symbolic relationships and consensus is created internally. And as we lead our lives, our brain is collecting all the data of every sense and constructing files that, once you reach the age of 40, has enough data to make a matrix so that your higher self can communicate with you through your internal consensus. This is amazing. The amazing thing is, in the symbolic year of 2020, I turned 40, and I saw this happen in my mind. And the first thing that my mind went over was my belief that the world was not being driven a certain direction, but, just chaos and floppies or something. And it is, there was enough information in my brain that I could convince every emotive aspect of myself that not enough good things have happened in the world for it to be an A plus B to C. This is not a logical sequence. This is not what I have been told. Either there is a lie in this fashion or it's in this fashion. And what now we have to do is go through all of the lies and which one would be the first one within our biological existence? Which one is closer to us than we are observable in our language processor? That if there's a bug there, we have no way of knowing if we're always looking further than there. And so you have to go through everything. And eventually you get to the point where if there's evil people or not, it's our actions, all of us, that makes our world the way it is, no matter what. And so there's different ways of being responsible for your actions, but we are all here to express ourselves. It is not your choice that someone was born different than you, and it's not your choice anything to say about them or do about them. This age is different now, and we must bring it with a little bit of force and will of love, and not let the people hungry for the Piscean age to continue ruling our world to impose anything upon us. Any further lies are not valid. It's not valid. It's over. So that's a rant for sure. Dyslogistic, having an unfavorable meaning. Dis, as a root, is the reverse of favorable, easy, or fortunate. But the word die, D-Y-E, if we said that word correctly, phonetically, it would be D-I. No, I can't remember. But if we wrote it down correctly, it would be D-E-H. D-I, yeah. Dis, D-I. It's ridiculous. The amount of every step of the way, we need to look at how we're spelling it and how we're actually saying it. No matter how strange or stupid it seems, the phonetic is the thing we're saying. And so we want the symbols in our language to be accurate to meanings all the way through. When our words have been jumbled in meanings against us, and it's really like just the amount of work it takes to figure everything out so that you're not always pointing an enemy out, but able to understand why that enemy is part of the narrative of the substance that one must interact with, and the relationship between you and substance is truly the first relationship. So it takes so long, and there are so many distractions here. There are reasons why Archaics, was able to put that together and we were not. There's a reason that only some of us are coming up with certain parts of pieces. And it's a strange thing, but it's really, there is more awareness here. I used to do all my magic subconsciously. I had no clue what magic was, but I found a word called heyoka, and it explained what I did, because I am essentially a lazy person, but I have a dome. It starts coming out when it comes out, because when it's not coming out, I don't know what to do with myself. Because I also have a work ethic, which I guess is Piscean too, and I have to just let it flow, and it flows. So dura mater, outermost envelope of brain and spinal cord. The medieval Latin, called the hard mother, and in Arabic, al-Khalida al-Jafia, the hard mother, thought to be the source of every other membrane in the body. Wow. The pia mater, hence dural or epidural. a duologue, a dramatic piece for two actors, and a dump, a fit of melancholy or depression, and now only mournful tune. Damp, exhaltation, haze, mist, related to damp. Dump 2 is a throw down or fall with sudden force, throw down in a mass, fall suddenly or with a rush. To dwell is to lead astray, tarry, delay, continue, in a place or a state. Ridiculous. Paper. Oops. Paper. It's a horizontal line. Rock. It's a dot. And scissors. For paper, rocks, and scissors. And there's also the box saga and the poles, the holes. And I call the scissor the relationship. And we're going to watch how a third column always arises as we go through these different interpretations. Scissors to paper cuts the paper, creates the weak line, and we see the I Ching duality here, which the scissors to paper, weak line, strong line. This is to slice or sly ones, as in the angles or the L's, angels. L's being sly, the phonetic sly backwards is just very interesting. This also goes into ones, zeros, both, or neither, which meticulously is on one solo page. Let's not do this. So the T, as in a crossing, you have both choices present, and the Y. I mean, this is ambivalent, I just marked it as Y for neither, because, like, why? So it's like the choice. Why do it, right? And T is the crossing, deciding to choose, going from inaction to action, or vice versa. Where am I? This is also, well, in the Egyptian hieroglyph, the feather would be a goddess, but this is more phallic, so it represents gods and goddesses is the pole and the hole. And it more leads to unity or war, which is literally chemistry. These dynamic emotions and forces that just seem to already exist when two things are near each other. This relationship between them causes these magnetisms and these different things to work out. Just like the planets and everything else, how it all works itself out. And the cells of the body, because they are the same. Also obvious that it all could be sexual, leading back to the relationship, which is why the still verse is the art of relationship, as the ever persistent force, as the invisible core that underlies every experience that you will have, that you are not only an amalgam of many beings, but every moment is a choice in how we treat the relationship of us to that moment and whatever it's composed of, and that is one fabric and one substance. It is the goo of the universe that we are always persistently present in and interpreting as we will. So, I said that I remembered my birth, and this is, now for me, this memory is what I call an anchor in the eth. Or the ether. And this just made me realize that during the birth process, from the other side, once you have chosen a womb and family to enter, or an experience to have, and outlined the basics of the emotional process which you will be confronted with, no matter how it is interpreted, half of your spirit is tied at the moment of conception, and the other half is tied at the moment of birth, and they reunite. And yet this is only like 1/12 of your entire being. And at this moment they reunite. And that's what I remember, is entering the womb at the moment of exiting from what is most like a dark room with very little, and then it's like a water slide, the Merkaba or roller coaster water slide, Merkaba kind of added together with little cell or vessel sliding down into the body at birth, and instantly, well, before that, I remember a woman asking me to come, and then telling me not to forget something. And no sooner do I say, okay, I will not forget, do I go down this, and I'm like, hey, forget what? And I forgot. Confronted with this, oh no, the people here are not set to full expression. I interpreted this, and I have the memory of interpreting this as to be something that I understood, and that as soon as in the body, something I was not aware of from the other side was something like a resistor put into everybody, keeping us from being fully expressive energetically while here. And a dark, shadowy, static figure was already speaking over me. I always thought this was just the doctor. I mean, it probably was, but it became menacing image of static man. And that's when I slept and entered the dream worlds that I do believe the first one was in that Amazonian type forest as a dinosaur. So there's stuff here this happens all at once from the other side. It is part of a single process where your frequency is tied in a little light orb and then tied in another light orb for a triangulation. It's 3 to 1. And that ends this part of this presentation, whatever this becomes. Cheerio.